Hello and welcome back to the bottom. My name is Beast and now back. Not welcome back. Today will be a new game, namely this one, Not Fiction. I haven't put a vote on for this because I just really wanted to play this because, you know, sometimes I just need something wholesome. And the entire premise of Not Fiction is that there aren't like multiple girls. There's only one girl and it's basically just like wholesome times with your cute wife. And that sounds amazing. The same goes for Harmony, but in that case, you are currently on your honeymoon. So, there's that. Also, I won't be showing the opening because sources tell me that the opening movie has H-scene CGs. So, I want to have to censor that. So, let me just go ahead and prepare the necessary weaponry, I guess you could say. There we go. Perfect. Now then, let's get into it. Oh, are they running a cafe? That's fucking cozy. Also, I'm immediately going to just whoop. Good. Come again! I bowed and showed out the guest who had just finished settling their bill, then checked the time. Our cafe tended to be busiest around lunchtime. I glanced at the clock, told me we just made it through that rush. I could finally relax. Felt like the tension left my body all at once. That's that. We're done with the lunch menu for the day. Coming out from behind the counter, the owner began collecting the menus from the table. Oh, the owner doesn't have a voice. Yeah, that should change that. Well, it's that. We're done with the lunch menu for the day. Okay. Why does that sound like somebody's getting fucking cut? Once lunch is over, our cafe swaps out its lunch menu and adopts a drinks and desserts-oriented one. Alright, Yukun, you're going to take a break now, so I'm going to take a break now, so I'll leave the rest to you. Having finished gathering up the menus, the owner called out to me. Sounds good, leave it to me. I replied. There were far fewer customers after lunch. Because of the menu switch, I could handle running the store myself. Because of that, the owner would often have the luxury to take a longer break. I guess that means he trusts me. Even though it's just during the slower times, he still trusts me to run things on my own. I've been working here for the past 3 years. By now, I've picked up everything I need to know and have gotten quite comfortable serving customers. He entrusts everything to me, even though I'm just a student. I can't let him down. It's because I enjoy this type of work that I keep it up despite being a student. Besides, I have another goal in mind. For that reason, I have to take this seriously. Now, what to do once I'm done cleaning? Should I practice making some desserts? Okay, was my fucking information off then? DB. Even though she and the protagonist, you are married, their relationship is still like that of an older sister and a child. There's plenty of teasing and doting, and of course plenty of ecchi from this rather forward girl. So she is supposed to be. Let me just put this over there. So they are supposed to be married, but he's a student? I'm highly confused. No. I already read that. If someone ordered a parfait or some other desserts, I'd need to make it, which is why I'd learned how. But anything overly complicated, like cakes, were prepared by the owner before the cafe opened. The owner's cakes were quite famous, so by the time we closed up, there were usually only a few left. They're just that tasty. If only I could get mine to taste even half as good. The owner gave me permission to use his leftover ingredients to practice as much as I wanted. I'm truly grateful that he decided to hire me, and for everything else he's done for me. That's why, if I can take even a small burden off his shoulders, I want to be able to make desserts that actually live up to his reputation. Though to be honest, there's another reason as well. Actually, isn't today... My thoughts were interrupted by the chime of the doorbell, signaling the arrival of a customer. Come on in and have a seat wherever you'd like, is what I'd follow with normally. But when I saw who had walked in, I swallowed those words. Chisa-san. I cleared my throat mid-sentence and addressed the woman entering the shop a bit more formally.
何かなその反応は。愛しのお嫁さんのご来店だっていうのに。
Wife. I'm still not used to hearing that word. Pushing through my embarrassment, I forced a wry smile. That's not true, and you know it. If you don't come to the cafe, you can't get any work done, right?
そうとも言うかも。
She hummed playfully, dodging the question.
まあまあいいじゃない。このお店の売り上げに貢献できるし、ユウはお嫁さんとの時間も増える。そして私はお仕事もできる。
She flashes me a triumphant smile.
ほら、一石三鳥。
This man is apparently a student, yet he is married to that absolute beauty. This man is very fucking lucky. It's what we in the business call that. I smiled wryly as she proudly puffed out her chest. Well, you're right that we get to spend more time together this way, so I guess it's fine. So, will it be the usual Chisa?
砂糖とミルクマシマシで。
Coming right up. While I worked away on her order, she went straight for a small table at the back of the cafe. That was her usual spot. Then, as usual, she immediately got to work. Pulling out her laptop, she placed it on the table. With the gaze fixed on the screen, she got started. She was so cute. It was so cute the way she furrowed her brow whenever she concentrated. It was as if the world around her didn't exist.
こういうのはどうかしら。
Watching her work as I prepared her coffee, I couldn't help but smile. As she said herself, she's my beloved wife, and we're a happily married couple. But there's something unique about our marriage. That is, while I'm still a student, Chisa is a full-fledged working adult. As a result, there's a bit of an age gap between us.
この展開だとやっぱりこれがベターよね。でもそれだとありきたりすぎてつまらないか。
Her gaze remained fixed on the laptop screen as she mumbled quietly to herself. Chisa's work centered around writing novels. She wrote articles and stories for magazines and such. Right now she was working on a short story for a particular magazine.
やっぱりここは印象に残る行動を。でもやっぱり王道の展開で綺麗にまとめた方がいいかな。
Maybe this would be better? No way, let's go with that instead. She fussed as usual. Here you go, Chisa, your usual with extra milk and sugar, just the way you like it. From the cup I placed in front of her, a pleasant and sweet aroma mingled with the rising steam. Her expression softened.
そうそう、これこれ。
By the way, I don't need to go out of my way to make screenshots in here since the CG gallery is unlocked from the beginning apparently. So there's a potential that I'll just be able to finish the game today if I just really go ham.
この甘いコーヒーの糖分が頭を回転させてくれて作業のお供には最高なのよね。
Alright, I'll leave you to it then. Stealing one last look at her smiling face, I bowed slightly and took my leave.
このコーヒーが飲めるのも幸せなんだけど、普段のユウとは違う姿を見ることができるのも、このお店で味わえる至福の一つよね。
Being told something that embarrassing so suddenly, I couldn't help but look away. Chisa-ne! Chisa, don't say such embarrassing things. Crap, I almost called her a Chisa-ne without thinking. But she didn't let that slip by her. Her eyes narrowed and she smiled lightly. I've seen this face before. Uh-oh, I'd better brace myself here.
私はチサネ なんて名前じゃないんだけどな。
She said with a smug look on her face.
本当はなんて呼ぼうとしたの？ほら、言ってごらん。
Uh-oh, her switch has been flipped again. Can we stop with the teasing, at least while I'm working? Please? My troubled expression only seemed to delight her further as she lets out a small
と
giggle.
かなんとか言って、本当は来てもらえるのが嬉しいくせに。
Well, that's... I get to see the face of my beloved wife. Of course, that's gonna make me happy. But even if I actually feel that way, I wouldn't be able to admit something so embarrassing at work. So rather than finish that thought, I opted to leave it at that and get the hell out of the Dodge. Watching me run away caused Chisa to smile in satisfaction.
まあ、この辺で勘弁してあげますか。ユウも私も仕事中だしね。
Having had her fun teasing me, she took a sip of her coffee before turning to face her laptop with a serious expression. Smiling in spite of myself, I returned to my work. Other than her, the cafe was relatively empty. Even so, the rush tended to cause leftover work to pile up. Alrighty, back to it then. Headed back beyond the counter, listening to the relaxed pitter-patter of Chisa tapping away, I quietly resumed cleaning. With a troubled expression, Chisa reached for her cup. She took a sip before placing it back on the coaster. Should be right about now. From the sound of her cup hitting the coaster, I'm guessing it was likely empty by this point. With a fresh pot in hand, I approached her table. Would you like a refill, ma'am? Spoke in as refined a manner as I could muster. Seeing my timing was impeccable, as Chisa's lips formed into a smile.
ちょうど欲しいと思ってたところ。ありがとう、ユウ。
My pleasure. She presented her cup, and I started pouring her refill. Then she gave me an odd look.
そういえば前々から不思議だったんだけど、よく飲み終わるタイミングわかるよね。
Ah, that's, if I have to explain that little trick.
もしかしてずっと私の方見てたり？
No. While there's a little more to it than that, she was actually 100% correct.
顔赤くなってる。
I'm really no match for a smile. This conversation was too much for me, so I decided to gloss over it. I could tell from the sound of your cup.
音？
Sound when it hits the table. Every time you take a sip and put down your cup, the sound of it makes when it hits the coaster gradually gets quieter.
言われてみれば確かにそうね。
It was the owner who'd first taught me that technique, matching the customer's rhythm, timing their refills exactly. Those are the real secrets behind this cafe's success. So when I saw him using those neat tricks, I tried my utmost to adopt them myself. That way I could take some of the burden off of his shoulders.
へえ、勉強になる。
Are you planning to apply for work at a cafe?
物語を書くときの参考。やっぱり何事も体験してるのが一番だけど、物書きの大部分って想像だからね。だからこそ、プロの言葉は大事なの。
Ah, I see. But wait, I'm not exactly a pro myself. Not nearly as experienced as the owner. I'm a novice who hasn't even decided on their future. You can tell when a cup of coffee is empty by the sound it makes when somebody places it on a coaster. A novice can't do that! There's no way you could call me a pro. Besides, I can't even make cakes yet, right?
でも言うなら近いうちに作れるようになると思うよ。
She smiled. Thank you for saying that. She might not be qualified to say that, but her words always give me a boost of confidence.
さてと、それじゃあお互い仕事に戻りましょうか。
Ah, right. Both had plenty of work left to do, so we really shouldn't be chatting too much. After all, I was entrusted with running the cafe. We turned our attention to our respective tasks. While listening to the odd groan coming from her direction, I returned to my own work. While I was at it, I started to get her refill ready. Given how much she's been groaning, my guess is that she'll want at least one more.
カフェインも糖分も補給したし、しっかり働け、私の脳細胞諸君。
Oops. Following a sip of her coffee, she lets out a heated sigh, then resumes tapping away at her keys. This one will come a bit sooner, huh? This time I didn't need to listen for it. I could tell just by watching how often she reached for her cup. She'd finished about half of her second cup. She stopped writing and leaned back into her chair. She stretched lightly and rubbed her shoulders, deciding to take a quick breather. Great work, Chisa. Sensing she was about to take a break, I brought over the dessert I'd prepared beforehand.
またしてもナイスタイミング。ちょうど甘いものが欲しかったの。
Clearly in a good mood, she smiled brightly. I figured that would be the case. It actually did place one there. Is that a cheesecake? Got taste. Actually, that looks like some kind of weird cheesecake with like the top being like a sheet, I say a sheet, like just a bit of honey, which sounds amazing. Since I was always watching her work, I'd gotten quite good at timing this sort of thing.
それじゃあ、いただきます。
Taking a small bite of the dessert, her expression softened.
おいしい。
Getting to see her smile like that was all that I needed in life. I'm glad you like it.
ここってコーヒーだけじゃなくてデザートも美味しいから好き。本格的にここを職場にしちゃいそう。
You're already practically doing that, aren't you? Her words brought a wry smile to my lips.
家にいるよりは外の方が集中できるのよ。
Is that how it works? Also, I just realized the mouse gets slightly smaller when I click.
家にいるとテレビもあれば本もお布団もある。その誘惑を断ち切る労力がバカにならないのよね。
She smiled bitterly. Yeah, I've definitely heard that before. Even with my own studies, when I was in my room, I would often end up slacking off.
だから仕事道具を持ち運びできるフリーランスはわざわざ喫茶店やファミレスなんかで仕事したりするのよ。
But if you have to leave the house to be able to work, does it really feel all that different from working a regular job?
移動の労力だけ考えれば出勤と同じかもね。でもその代わりに自分で時間を調整できたり、こうして愛おしい人の姿を見て仕事できたり、メリットもたくさんあるのよ。
Is that second one really important? It does make me happy though.
まあその分自己管理能力とかコミュニケーション力とかいろいろと大変なことも多いんだけどね。
Despite how easy people make it sound, when I see how hard you work, it doesn't seem that way.
そうね。
She gets especially anxious before her deadlines. How'd you end up working as a freelancer? Can I think of it? I've never asked her this before.
ん？私は一人でのんびりやるのが好きだからね。それにさっきも言ったでしょ？こうして愛しの旦那様と一緒にいられる時間が増えるから。
I once again couldn't hide my embarrassment. Seeing me blush, she simply smiled.
だから今の仕事は転職なの。
While I was delighted to hear that, it also made me want to get back at her a bit. You know, if you take it easy for too long, it'll be crunch time before you know it.
締め切りは破ってないからセーフ。
She replied calmly. But you always submit your manuscripts at the last minute, so I'm sure that causes a lot of trouble. The smile faltered for just a moment. At least she was self-aware.
大丈夫。今回はまだ締め切りまで余裕があるから。
You always say that. Sheesh, she said the exact same thing a month ago.
デザートおいしい。
She glossed over it. You're just making things harder later. I smiled and let out a small sigh.
いいのいいの。そうなったらユウのお世話になるから。
Well, I guess I wouldn't really mind. Oh, it's not like I can do much to help her meet her deadlines.
じゃあそうしたら30分に1回ユウのキスで元気をもらいながら仕事するとか
She just said something outrageous again. G-sup, again with the teasing?
なんて冗談そうならないように努力するごめんねユウが可愛い反応するからついつい
Jeez. Despite how embarrassing it is to be constantly teased by her, I couldn't help but smile. Can't really describe it well, but I really enjoy this type of back and forth with her.
さて糖分も油分も補給したしまた頑張りますか
With that, she once again switched her focus back to the laptop screen. What on earth is U-Power? Getting that final line in, I too returned to my work. While I'd finished cleaning for the most part, there was still plenty to do as we prepared for the evening. The cafe was a lot quieter during this time, but that didn't mean there weren't any customers. The types of people that would frequent in the evening were a bit different, but if we prepared in advance, we could transition smoothly. Now then, I got start by restocking the beans. While considering the most efficient way to do my work, I glanced over at Chisa. Like before, she was silently tapping away at the keys as she focused on her work. I got this, you. Seeing the woman I love working so hard, I couldn't help but get fired up as well. We both continued to work, and nighttime arrived before we knew it. The owner returned from his break at some point, and my shift ended without incident. I'm off for the day. I called out to the owner as I prepared to leave. Alright then, great work today. Did you run into any problems while I was gone? Nah, nothing particular. That's good to hear. Thank you for your hard work as always. Of course, having a good night. As I prepared to leave, it looked like he suddenly remembered something. Oh, that's right. Would you mind asking your father if he'd like to go for dinner sometime soon? The owner and my dad were acquaintances, which was how I was introduced to this job in the first place. For sure, I'll pass that along. Leave it to you then. If you feel like it, why don't you join us as well? You can bring your wife too. Because he was friends with my dad, and since I'd been working here for the past 3 years, he already knew about my relationship with Chisa. Sure, I'll ask her. She always looks so happy when she's eating my sweets, saying that really makes it all feel worth it, you know? Tell her that I have a new dessert I'm working on, and I'd love to have her give it a try sometime. I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that. Chisa really loves the coffee and desserts here after all. I'm glad to hear it. I'm sure your being here is the main reason she comes so often, though. He grinned, not wanting to show him my embarrassment. I hid my face. That's... You don't have to get so embarrassed. Getting along with your wife like that is a great thing. Thanks. We've been married for over a year now. But despite all that time we've spent together, I still get shy when other people bring it up. I really have to start getting used to that. I didn't mean to keep you waiting. It's not good courtesy to keep a lady waiting after all. Indeed, I'll get going then. Have a good night.
はい、今日も一日バイトお疲れ様。
As I left the cafe, I found Chisa waiting for me. On the days that she would work at the cafe like she did today, she would often wait for me to finish up so we could go home together. My bad for making you wait like that. I want to head home now, Chisa. Unlike when I was working, I was able to speak more casually. I flashed her a relaxed smile.
お、いつものユウに戻った。
Well, I'm off work now. Even if it's you, I have to treat you like a regular customer while I'm on the clock. When I'm in front of other customers, I have to retain a sense of professionalism. I can't exactly give her special treatment.
ユウは真面目ね。マスターってそういうことを気にしなさそうだけど。
True, if it were him, he would probably tell me not to worry about it. Even so, I have to draw the line somewhere. As long as it's work that I'm getting paid for, it's my responsibility to keep my private life separate. That's how I see it, at least.
偉い偉い。
Being praised by her made me happy. But I do keep calling you Chisane by accident. I just it just keeps slipping out.
まあ、それはしょうがないんじゃない？
When I'm properly focused at work, I change the ne to son, but it never really sounds right. Because of that, the amount of time I let Chisa ne slip has gotten a lot more common lately. It's a habit that's been ingrained in me over many years, and I'm fully aware of how hard it is to break.
でもどうせなら、そろそろチサって呼び捨てにしてくれてもいいんじゃない？
She proposed suddenly. Nah, I don't think that would sound right to me.
いや、そっちの方が普通でしょ。だって私たち夫婦なのよ。夫婦なのにチサ姉って呼ぶ方が変じゃない？
That's true, but you've always been Chisane to me, so I've sort of gotten used to it. Besides, you're always calling me you, right? Wouldn't it be weird for you to suddenly switch too? Hearing that, she smiled mischievous.
おなるほどなるほど。
Seeing her smile like that, I had a bad feeling about this. I'd better gird my loins.
じゃあこういうこと？あ、な。
For an instant, my brain stopped working. Then, I could physically feel my body heating up as my cheeks turned a bright shade of red.
あらあら、あなたったらそんなに顔を赤くしちゃって。
Seeing me all flustered, Chisane giggled.
あなたってば何をそんなに恥ずかしがってるの？こういう呼び方されたかったんでしょ？ねえ。あ、な。
Chisa, I'm begging you, please stop calling me that. It's way too embarrassing. While she's undoubtedly my wife, she's also something like an older sister to me. So when she teases me this way, I can't help but feel flustered.
ほらほら、夫婦なんだから、あなたもチサ姉なんて呼び方はやめなきゃ。
Even though I'd already raised the white flag, Chisane gleefully continues her offensive. Nope, not happening. I frantically shook my head, my face turning bright red. Seeing how embarrassed I was, she burst out laughing.
もう、言うたら必死すぎ。まったく、いやつめ。
Jeez, you're always teasing me like that.
ごめん。好きな子ほど意地悪したくなるお年頃なの。
What are we, a couple of kids in a schoolyard? I was shocked by her
だって
words.
仕方ないじゃない。子供の頃の好きって気持ちを持ったままで大人になっちゃったんだから。
Her words caught me completely by surprise, stopping me dead in my tracks. Chisa? She whirled to face me, staring direct into my eyes. Then,
好きだよ、ユウ。子供の頃からずっとね。
hearing her express her love for me in such a clear way left me completely speechless. Losing myself in her eyes, I scrambled to muster up a response. It's the same for me. I've always loved you, Chisa. I will never ever change. But that's, me too. But I just couldn't find the words. Seeing me floundering, her serious expression suddenly shifts into a mischievous smirk.
ユウも私と同じだってことはよーくわかってるんだけどね。何せ子供の頃はずーっとお姉ちゃんと結婚するって言ってたんだから。
And then the mad lad did it. Before I'd even realized that she was teasing me again, my face had already turned bright red.
そんなに恥ずかしがらなくてもいいじゃない。私だってずっとお嫁さんになってあげるって言ってたんだから。おあいこ。
That's not really the issue here.
さあ、完全に日が沈む前に帰りましょう。今日の晩ご飯はユウが大好きなものだから。
No matter what it was, even in conversations like this, I always find myself chasing after her. Whether it's with our careers or with housework, or anything really. She's always had the upper hand. So once again, I found myself on the losing end of another one of our exchanges. But I can't let things stay that way forever. As a man, I need to be able to stand alongside her as an equal. That singular determination burned brightly within me. To avoid admitting defeat completely, I had to at least say something here. Chisa, let me just say this.
何?
She looked back at me. My beloved Chisa, who always enjoyed toying with me, I said. I was the one who fell in love with you first. That's why I'm sure that I've loved you for longer. She and I had grown up in the same neighborhood, so for as long as I could remember, I'd been devoted to her and her alone. I know that I have a lot of catching up to do, but As for how much I love her, I'll never lose. In response to those words, Chisa just stared at me blankly for a moment.
つまりユウは物心ついた頃からずっと私のことが大好きだったということね。ありがとう。
Whoops, I missed a little. She gave me a light peck on the cheek, then turned and started walking ahead of me. If giving it my all lands me a reward like that, it'll work even harder from now on. We stopped at the supermarket to pick up food and other daily necessities. After managing to cram everything into one bag, we finally made it home. This is a large house. Are you trying to tell me that a freelancer and a student married couple are living here on their own? That seems mildly unlikely, unless while he's still a student, he's getting financial aid from his parents still. I'm home. Having once again forgotten that it's just the two of us living here, I look over to see her smiling at me.
おかえりなさい、ユウ。そして私もただいま。
Welcome home, Chisa. Having just come home together, we exchanged those greetings and laughed.
荷物持ちありがとうね。
Oh, of course, just much as nothing.
さすが男の子。
We unloaded the groceries from the bag and finished putting it all away.
さて、それじゃあ早速お夕飯の支度を始めちゃいますか。ユウはゆっくりしてていいからね。
While standing in the kitchen, Chisa started to prepare tonight's supper.
さてと、今日はいいお魚が手に入ったから、美味しく味噌煮に。シンプルに塩焼きもいいな。
I found myself gazing at her as she worked away in the kitchen. I'd offer to help, but I can't cook, so all I can really do is watch. Besides, the food Chisa makes is always amazing, and my help would be a waste of effort. After all, since I can't cook, I'd just end up getting in the way if I tried to help. I had no choice but to just sit there and watch her.
どうかしたの、ユウ。
Chisa happened to notice me quietly sitting here. She stopped working and called out to me.
私の背中に何かついてる？
Nah.
虫？もしそうなら、今持ってる包丁を握りしめたままサクッとやっちゃうけど。
She said with a straight face. Don't worry, there's nothing like that. That was a joke, right? It was kind of scary on it, so I denied it just in case.
それじゃあどうしたの？ああ、私の背中を見てるうちにしたくなっちゃったとか？
Why would I be feeling guilty about that? She smiled, seeming to enjoy getting a rise out of me. I mean, he's basically like fucking like, I want to feel guilty about this. He's just like at that, like it just like stands up in his chair, just points at his neck. Why should I even feel guilty about this?
相変わらずいい反応ありがとう。
Did I read that? I read that, yes. As usual, she strikes whenever she sees an opening. Anyway, can I help with anything? Upon hearing my request, her expression brightened.
ありがとう。でも大丈夫。お姉さんに任せなさい。
So, as always, she declined my offer for help. Okay, sounds good. I'll leave it to you. I wouldn't have been able to help anyway. I could have helped with the dishes. Odd jobs are the only thing I can really help with. Well, let me know if you need a hand with anything. I'm ready whenever you need me.
はーい。その時はよろしく。
She gave me her usual response, so I was only able to help her set the table. Even with the small things like that, if I wasn't quick about it, she would just do it herself. I'd feel kind of useless if I just sat here doing nothing. So, while listening to Nichisa's humming as she worked away, I figured I would clean the bath. But once I entered the bathroom, it was already too late. The entire bathroom was all completely spotless. And it's done to utter perfection as usual. In the meantime, whenever I thought of something, I'd find that she had already finished it. Since there was nothing for me to do, I found myself back in the living room watching her as she cooked. Thank you for making dinner. Oh, she let down her hair. Nice.
お粗末様でした。
After finishing the delicious meal she made for us, I spread out on the floor, feeling completely satisfied. Why the floor? You have a fucking couch, you imbecile. That was too good. Being able to eat such delicious food every day, this was pure bliss. While I was daydreaming, the sound of running water coming from the kitchen brought me back to reality. Not again. While I was lying there, she'd gathered up the dishes and had even started cleaning them already. Hey, Chisa, at least let me handle the dishes!
いいよいいよ。ユウはバイトで疲れてると思うし、私がやるから休んでて。
But you're also working today, right?
私はユウを見ながら仕事してたから、むしろ仕事する前よりエネルギーが有り余ってるわ。だからあまり近くにいられると、そのエネルギーの矛先がユウに向いちゃうかもよ。
She shot me a flirtatious look. She sure loved teasing me. In that case, I'll leave it to you. Sensing an imminent assault, I opted for a tactical retreat.
夫婦なんだから遠慮しなくていいのに。ユウの恥ずかしがり屋さん。
I smiled in resignation as I watched her work. I sat there watching her work for a while. As I did, a feeling of restlessness took hold of me, which was quickly followed by a wave of negativity. I'm so pathetic. I let out an involuntary sigh, and before I knew it, those words escaped my lips.
何か言った?
Chisa asked, looking over her shoulder. Thankfully, probably due to the sound of the running water, it didn't seem like she'd heard me. No, it was nothing.
そう?
She returned to washing the dishes. That was close. She almost hurt those negative thoughts of mine. Clearly, this was getting to me. I almost spilled the beans. Couldn't let things continue as they were. I just ran on becoming entirely dependent on her. In our household, Chisa was undoubtedly the breadwinner. In other words, in my current state, I was being dependent on her. That said, there isn't much we can do about it right now. I'm still a student after all. No matter how much effort I put in, there's no way I'd be able to support her. I'd considered dropping out of school at one point, but when I told her that, she immediately flipped out. Stop worrying about money while you're in school. Be a good boy and let me support you, is what she said. We discussed this at length before we got married. Though instead of a discussion, you could say that I was forced to accept things as they are. Even so, asking me to just accept that as... Without cutting back on school, I wouldn't be able to make more than I do now. It's not like I thought I'd be able to surpass her. I'd come to terms with that long ago. Even though I understand that logically, I feel like separating them from my emotions won't be easy. I know rushing won't get me anywhere either. No matter how much I try to speed things up, I have no choice but to give in to the passage of time. Still, if there's anything I can be doing right now, I'll make sure to give it my best. All for her sake. If it's for my beloved, I can take on the whole world. If there's one thing I do know for sure, it's that I can't let myself rely on her entirely. Alright. I can't keep moping around like this. I smacked my cheeks as hard as I could to psych myself up.
何? どうしたの?
Chisa jolted at the sound of my palms hitting my face. She turned and called out to me. Oh, whoops, don't worry about it!
気にしないでって。頬赤くなってない?
There was some lingering heat on my cheeks. Seems I overdid it as they were a little swollen.
まさか自分で叩いたの? なんで?
Seeing the state of my swollen cheeks, it seems she was able to piece everything together. Don't worry about it. I was just doing a little self-correction exercise.
戒め?
Kinda like me telling myself to get my act together.
どうしたの? 急に.
Oh, nothing in particular. I was just thinking that I'm absolutely going to make you happy. She paused, processing my words. For a moment, she shot me a look that I couldn't quite decipher before bursting out laughing.
そっかそっか。なるほどなるほど。言うらしい。
She drew closer to me and stared lovingly into my eyes.
ありがとう。でも、今も十分幸せだからね。
Saying this, she lightly kissed one of my swollen cheeks. There, damn, she completely caught me off guard. My body tends to perfect her surprise attack, which only made her smile mischievously. Thanks to that, my cheeks started burning up even more. Chisa sighed. Oh, I like that outfit. When I grow up, I'm definitely gonna marry you, big sis. I was a younger boy that... He was a younger boy that lived in my neighborhood. He'd always been something like a little brother to me. I smiled at his son proposal. Yeah, I promise I will.
男の子なんだから、一度言ったことは守らないといけないんだよ。
I know that!
でも、結婚は大人にならないとできないんだよ。大人になるまで我慢できる？
I can, I'm sure of it.
大人になるのはずっと先のことだよ。それまでに他に結婚したい人ができるかもよ。
I know that won't happen. I won't fall in love with anyone else. It has to be you, big sis.
そっかそっか。だったらお姉ちゃんも、ユウが大きくなるまで待ってるね。
Really? I can still remember the way his eyes lit up at the purity of his dazzling smile.
ほんと。
That's a promise, you can't take it back, okay? Pulling something out of his pocket, he gripped it tightly. Adopting a determined expression that matched the firmness of his grip, he held out his hand. Take this as proof of our promise.
これって、指輪？
Yo, this little fucking half-fight just pulls out a fucking box with a wedding ring, like, yes! He handed me a single silver ring. It didn't look particularly expensive, but it certainly wasn't a toy either.
どうしたのこれ。
I bought it with my allowance that I saved up. This little shit was like, okay, like there's a little boy seemingly. I'm guessing she's like early, late middle, early high school, and he's like near end elementary or something like that, I guess. And this boy just like fucking, okay, I need to save up to buy this ring for this girl that I like because I'm going to propose to her. That's not something a normal kid thinks. Let's be honest. This young boy used up all of his precious savings just to be able to give me this ring. When I realized that, I felt something indescribable. After receiving such a heartfelt proposal, there's no way I was... There was no way I'd be able to turn him down.
ありがとう。大事にするね。
Fucking look at Chadsworth over here, like fucking buying himself a great woman before even getting into middle school or something. What the fuck? This was a story from long ago. A small promise between children. A promise that was never supposed to come true. I woke up next to my husband as he slept peacefully. My day begins as I admire this lovely view. I have a bad feeling about this, so I'm just gotta just... Taking care not to wake him up, I slip out of the bed and begin changing out of my pajamas. Okay. I washed my face and got started on breakfast. She's still naked. I would have never woken up this early back at home. My schedule was a lot more open-ended at the time, which changed when I started living with you. Now that I made all of our meals, we never had to rely on convenience store meals or anything like that.
目玉焼きとハムを焼いて、ご飯と味噌汁の王道メニュー。これに決定かな。
These were all habits I'd formed after living with him. It's not like I'm a particularly sloppy person, but when you're working a freelance position like I do, it's easy to pick up some bad habits. I was always able to cook. It's just harder to get motivated when you're only cooking for yourself. But now, I have someone who says my food is delicious, plus this person happens to be the one I love.
お味噌汁の濃さは、こんなものかな。
It just looks like she's naked. down there. While it's something I have to do, while it's something I have to do, I do enjoy cooking. No matter how much I do it, I doubt that will change.
今日の朝ごはんも美味しそうにできた。
Just imagining you happily enjoying the food I'd made was enough to bring a smile to my face. Us living together like this was a bit of like a fairy tale. Ours was a promise that had no business coming true. And yet here we were, happily living together.
事実は小説よりもなんとやらとは言うけど、本当にその通りよね。
So says the novelist. But even so, I believe it.
さて、朝ごはんもほとんどできたし、ユウを起こさないとね。
Still nestled comfortably in his futon, Yu had a pleasant expression on his face as he slept. Saying that, I really wanted to just let him sleep, but sadly, he'd have to wake up soon anyway.
ユウ、朝だ。
I called out to wake him up, but my voice trailed off when my eyes met with a certain something.
朝だからすっごい立ってる。
My eyes were directed at the bulge below Yu's waist, which was asserting itself clearly through the blanket. Yu's erection was standing at full mast this morning. But I was aware that this was a natural response. I'd seen it many times over, but having it right before my eyes still made my cheek grow hot.
こんなに膨らんで寝苦しくないのかな。
So it's an area I thought was gonna happen. It's gonna happen after all. That is good to know, I guess. Just move that down a bit, I guess. Like that, roughly. Bit bigger. Like this. And you can still slightly see through here, but not enough for it to cause a problem, I guess. As those words escaped my lips, I felt a familiar impulse rise within me.
スウェーデン食わぬはなんとやらってね。
As I mumbled this quietly to myself, I slid my head under the blanket.
Wow!
Okay, I think for a second you saw a cock, so I'm just gonna like note down this timestamp at like 20, I guess. 0, 47, 20. And then I'm gonna skip sex scene. Alright, he has been successfully sucked off. As I gradually regained consciousness, I felt some warm and damp at my... Oh no, they are not done, I think. Huh? It was a pleasant feeling, but there was some discomfort mixed in as well. I'm pretty sure this feeling is why I woke up. But what I was feeling was... Oh shit! Realizing what that feeling was, my mind jerked awake. Don't tell me a wet dream! Fearing the worst, I peeked down at my crotch. It took me a second to process what I was looking at. Yeah, let's get back to skipping. And we're back!
改めておはよう。どう？気持ちよかった？
Get ready for the horny bonk. So, we wrapped up our intense morning exercises. Chisa, having composed herself in the meantime, faced me and nonchalantly asked me this. Yeah, it did. I was still in a bit of a daze, so that was the best response I could muster. Today was Sunday. No, be sure today is Friday. On Sundays, we would always go out on a date. So, as per usual, we'd left the house. After that, I absentmindedly walked beside her, still a bit dazed from the events of this morning. I changed clothes, ate breakfast, and left the house. As for the exact details, those were lost in me.
朝の光って気持ちいいわね。
Stopping for a quick stretch, she basked comfortably in the morning light.
それで今日はどこに行こっか。
Let's see.
ユウはどこか行きたい場所はある？
Nah, not that I can think of.
じゃ、散歩にしよう。
That sounds good. Not at her suggestion, and she smiled and held out her hand.
決まりね。ほら、手をつなぎましょう。
Sure. I returned her smile and took her hand. Tisa really enjoyed going for walks, so this was a pretty common pastime for us. Occasionally taking short rests on benches that we passed, we chatted away about nothing in particular. Spending our time like that was incredibly relaxing. We both agreed that these simple yet relaxing strolls were our favorite way to spend these dates.
今日はいいお天気になりそうね。
Looking up at the sky, she whispered softly. It sure is. Following her lead, I gazed upwards as well. The slight drowsiness I'd been feeling began to disappear as sunlight flooded my vision. The lingering fogginess from this morning cleared, and I could finally recall what happened. So Chisa. Given what I was about to bring up, I lowered my voice.
どうかした？
About this morning. Why did you do... that?
そこに愛おしいものがあったから。
She just said something outrageous with a straight face again, didn't she? Why would you ask me something so obvious? Her expression said it all, leaving me at a loss. So you did it because you felt bad for it?
そりゃ、スウェーデン食わぬはなんとやらでしょ？愛おしい旦那様のですもの。食べないと。
She drew close, cutting me off before I could respond.
でしょ？
Whispering this with a smug smile plastered on her face, her hot breath tickled my ear. Okay, I adore this expression. The indescribably pleasant sensation sent shivers down my spine. Uh-oh. That's bad. Chisa. She was giving me that look again. If things kept up this way, I'd end up completely under her sway before long. To avoid that, I tried to change the subject. Speaking of which, why do you like going for walks so much, Chisa? She paused for a moment, pondering my question.
特に何がっていうわけでもないんだけどね。ほら、いつも家にいるから週に1回は外で過ごしたいのよね。
That's true, you do work at home all the time.
そうそう。だから外の空気とか日光とかが恋しくなるのよ。
Is it sort of like recharging your batteries?
まあ、そういうこと。
I see, so it's photosynthesis.
その例えはちょっと。
I thought it was pretty funny, actually. Apparently she disagrees.
まあ、とりあえず外に出たいっていうのもあるんだけど。
Fuck! Spilled. I'm bad with this today. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ almighty on a bicycle. I don't know why I said that. I'm in a weird mood right now. It was almost imperceptible, but her expression became slightly subdued.
別に仕事が嫌いってわけじゃないんだけど、職業柄なのかな。家にいると常に何かを考えちゃって疲れちゃうのよね。
She closed her eyes. It was hard to tell whether or not she'd been complaining just now. If so, that may have been the first complaint I'd heard from her in all the years we'd been together. She says, something the matter? I was curious. I tried prying a bit more.
そんなことないよ。まあ、私らみたいな職業の宿命よね。だから気にしない。
Applying in her usual bright and carefree tone, she pulled me along, all the while gently smiling. Couldn't shake off the feeling that she glossed over something just now, but I pushed the thought aside. I'm sure we'd be able to talk it through later if needed. Right now, I need to focus on the date at hand, to make sure she enjoys herself. Anyway, the wind sure feels nice today. It's gotten a lot warmer lately, hasn't it? I tried changing the subject. Gently holding down her fluttering hair, she nodded.
もう春だからね。この季節の風の匂いっていいわよね。嫌な湿気も含んでないし、適度に乾いててちょうどいい春の匂い。
The wind picked up as she said this, bringing with it the scent of freshly cut grass. Her expression softened as her mood visibly improved. Yeah, I agree. Mimicking her actions, I closed my eyes and focused on my other senses, basking in this atmosphere. For some reason, the smell of spring always brings with it this feeling that something new is coming. After all, spring is the season of new beginnings. And if I want to catch up to her, I'll need to take that first step into the unknown. Need to be better. I ascertained my feelings by tightening my grip on her hand, muttering this under my breath.
何か言った？
Like, can I just say that the moment he said that I need to be better, all I can think of is that scene with Kratos at the end of God of War 4. Spoiler, when he snaps Baldur's neck. And yeah, so no, it was nothing. I muttered precisely so that she wouldn't hear me, but it seems she heard me anyway. It's not like I said anything that would get me in trouble. It was, to put it simply, my resolve that I would definitely make her happy. Oh, right, what do you want to do for lunch?
今からお昼ご飯の話？さっき朝食済ませたばかりじゃない。ひょっとして足りなかった？
No, it was more than enough. It was really tasty too.
私も美味しい朝ごはんだったよ。ごちそうさまでした。
Can we please just drop that already? I was so close to forgetting it too. Trying to clear this morning's escapades from my mind, I loudly cleared my throat. Anyway, today's Sunday, right? If we don't get there early enough, we'll never be able to find a seat. It's the weekend after all.
確かにそうね。でも空いてる時間って言っても、お腹が空く前か空きすぎる一歩手前かって感じで、結局混んでる時間になるから。
Indeed. In fact, I'm sure even us talking about this right now means that all of the seats were already taken. Well, that wouldn't be the end of the world. We could just get something to go and eat on a nearby bench. Now that I've suggested it, the idea of eating outside was actually growing on me.
あ、それもいいわね。せっかくいい天気なんだし。
She gazed upward as she said this, once again basking in the spring sun.
こういう時は、やっぱりお米よりもサンドイッチ？ピクニックの定番って感じだし。
That sounds definitely true, but I feel like the same can be said about onigiri.
そうね。どっちにしようかしら。
She stood there contemplating for a moment, then, seeming to recall something, she raised her voice.
あ、そうだ。おにぎりで思い出した。
What about him?
この前ショッピングモールに新しいおにぎり屋さんできたの知ってる？
Let me think. No, I don't think so.
そのおにぎり屋さん、竹の皮でおにぎりを包んでくれるんだって。
Wow, so you can take it to go like those period dramas?
そうそう。一度食べてみたいのよね。
In that case, why don't we buy some and eat outside?
でも手が汚れちゃわないかしら。
I forgot about that. Without the seaweed wrapping, there's nothing to protect our hands.
それをペロッと舐めてっていうのもオツだけど、さすがに行儀悪いし。
She was once again back in contemplation mode. If she's that worried, we could always stop at a convenience store and pick up some wet wipes. I tried suggesting that.
そうかそうか。その手があったわね。
Then she seemed to have another realization. But this time around, her expression made it pretty clear that this was an idea I wouldn't be particularly keen on. That all too familiar ominous feeling surfaced again.
ねえ、ユウ？
For some reason, she was smiling mischievously again. Why did this one seem even more smug than usual? Yes?
ご飯が手についちゃったらさ、お互いに舐め合うっていうのはどう？
But having expected another of her outrageous proposals, I prepared to force out an immediate rejection, but ended up choking on my words instead.
ほら、ユウの手の味がいい具材になって美味しいかもしれないじゃない？
What are these ingredients exactly?
それにそういうイチャイチャも味わえて、ほら一石二鳥。
I don't think we should do that in public.
あら？じゃあ家ならいいってこと？
You know that isn't what I meant.
冗談よ。
I'm pretty sure she wasn't.
でも、なんで竹の皮で包むのかしらね。
Isn't it to capture that old-fashioned vibe?
そんな理由かしら。竹皮に包むことで美味しくなるとか？
Despite the fact that cooking was her specialty, it seemed this was beyond the range of her
ほ
knowledge.
ら、おにぎり以外にもおまんじゅうとかも包んでたりするじゃない？
Now that you mention it, they do it with natto too. I recall having seen that somewhere, particularly with expensive natto.
納豆ね。想像もしたくなかったわ。
Hearing the word natto was all it took for her expression to darken considerably. Ah, that's right, you're really bad with natto. Tomorrow just like comes in like, how dare you? Fucking like from off to the side, Tomorrow just comes in, how fucking dare you? And Yama just comes in, like grabs her arm, like, come on, leave him alone. She's never really been a fan. Whenever I ate it, she'd wear that same pained expression the entire time.
匂い、味、食感、粘り気、その他もろもろ。全部ダメね。
It's so good though. Well, let's leave that aside for now. If we keep that conversation up any longer, her mood would have plunged into the crevice of Mount No Return. So, what's our decision on lunch?
そうね。やっぱり無難にサンドイッチにしましょうか。
Let's go to that onigiri shop some other time then. We continued making small talk, strolling along together as usual. Our conversations were light, with no goal in mind. We simply enjoyed the scenery as we walked, making an occasional stop to rest before continuing along. This was how our dates would usually go. Just being together was enough for us. And so we continued enjoying our precious time together until the sky became dyed in red and crimson. Having spent the whole day together, she seemed to be in particularly high spirits.
今日はたくさん歩いたわね。
You were walking the whole time after all. You tired? I felt like we walked a lot more than usual today.
まさか、ユウとのデートに疲れなんてないわよ。
She smiled sweetly.
ユウこそ疲れてない？
I'm good. I never get tired on a date with you either. It was the opposite, in fact. I wish these dates would last forever.
嬉しいこと言ってくれちゃって。
Embarrassed by our lovey-dovey exchange, her face reddened and she squeezed my hand tight.
そんなユウにはご褒美に帰ったら美味しい夕飯たくさん作ってあげる。
Have you decided on what you're gonna make?
冷蔵庫の中見てから決めようかなって思ってたけど、何かリクエストある？
After walking so much, maybe something meaty?
いいわね。確かひき肉があったはずだから、ちょっと豪勢にチーズハンバーグにしましょうか。
Ooh, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. Cooking is amazing, and I'm not just saying that. Just thinking about how she would elevate even a simple hamburger was enough to get me excited. So I really need to learn to cook. I don't know why I just randomly remembered that, but I don't remember what birthday it was. Like, I think my 18th birthday? I'm not quite sure though. Where my mother decided to make like a baguette. It was like a not like the usual French baguette. It's just like thin white bread, but like it was a fucking beefy boy. She basically like hollowed out the entire thing, then make like a mix with the bread that she got out and ground beef with like butter and different fucking with different herbs, and basically just like fill that again in there again, just like put like herbal butter. Like, I fucking know what to say it, what it is. Hold on, let me just. herb butter or garlic butter. Herb butter, more like. Basically, just like mix between the fucking bread, ground beef, and herb butter, just in back in the fucking hold out baguette. Just like put like basically just with grab some melted herb butter and just like fucking use like one of those special kitchen brushes to brush it over the baguette and then put it back in the oven. And that was fucking amazing. I would adore to have that again at some point. Anyways, I really need to learn how to cook. If I could handle that, I'd be able to lighten her load.
じゃあ作れるようになったら最初に私にご馳走してね。
Of course, that was the plan. It's not like I had anyone else to cook for. Plus, it was for her sake that I'd learned in the first place. I'll have to pick up a cookbook sometime soon.
さーて、言うからいっぱい元気もらったし、夜からまた頑張らないとね。
Don't overdo it just for me. Actually, shouldn't I be cheering her on?
夕飯作りに、それからユーとのエッチ。
は？
えって。今朝はユーのを可愛がるだけで私の方はお預け状態だったんだから、するに決まってるでしょ。
I think my mind just arrow 404'd on me. Okay, I like that one. I feel the need to just quickly whoop, pick that and there we go. There we go.
朝からずっと我慢してたから、今夜のお姉ちゃんはちょっとすごいわよ。
Her hot breath thick in my ear, sending me into a momentary daze as she walked on ahead. Is she having me for dinner tonight? As I gazed at her profile, something told me I had quite the night waiting for me. Thus we finished our date and went home for dinner. Before we knew it, night had come upon us. I was sitting on the bed, unable to calm down. My gaze flitted restlessly across the room. To tell you the truth, I've been nervous the entire way home. When she looked at me with those puppy dog eyes and casually told me we'd be having sex tonight, that was all I could think about since. I only vaguely recalled tonight's supper. Well, the taste still lingered on my tongue. In an attempt to clear my mind, I looked up at the ceiling and took a deep breath. To this day, I still can't get used to the awkward atmosphere right before sex. But hey, if I'm gonna get nervous about it anyway, then might as well give in to it, right? As I was sitting there fidgeting, I heard the bedroom door open. Freshly bathed Chisa walked in. The time has come! Chisa? I called out to her, but then she turned off the lights. Couldn't see anything, but I could hear the soft pitter-patter of her approaching footsteps. Chisa? I called her name. She answered with a soft giggle. It was probably another one of her games, with her goal being to tease me. As my eyes started to adjust, I could vaguely make out a pale silhouette bathed in moonlight. Chisa? Wearing only her lingerie, she stood before me. As soon as I realized this, I felt an arm delicately wrap around me, pulling me down. The world spun around for a moment. When it finally stopped, I was facing her on the bed. She looks very excited. Skipping the sex scene. She's currently naked on his bed and butt is on full view, so I'm not gonna risk this. In that room filled with the lingering smells of sweat and desire, we went at it like animals. Afterward, we laid next to each other on the bed.
2回目とは思えない量だったね。後始末しててびっくりしちゃった。
It was as she said. I surprised even myself with how much I had left in the tank.
ユウって精液が多めなのかな?
No, I'm pretty sure I'm average. I guess I can't exactly compare myself to someone else, so I wasn't exactly sure.
まあ、私はいっぱい出してもらえる方が嬉しいけどね。
Really now?
そっちの方が私とのエッチで興奮してもらえたって感じがするでしょ?
I'll always end up that way as long as it's with you. I'm pretty sure anything more than that would bring us into heart attack territory. Apparently happy with my response, she flashed me a satisfied smile and began to pepper me with sweet kisses. We spent some time after that exchanging kisses as if reaffirming our love through our lips. Her lips were like an unbelievably soft cloud. I felt like I could have kept that up all night. I briefly separated our lips, only to find her looking at me with a disappointed expression. Was my kiss not good enough? Huh? Was I so good that she was smitten by my charms? That would be great, but there's no way.
だんだんと上手くなってて、ちょっと残念って気持ちもあるのよね。
Looks like my assumption was slightly off. What do you mean?
昔は顔を真っ赤にしながら、恐る恐る唇をくっつけてくれてたのも可愛かったなって。勢い余って頭突きされちゃったこともあるし。
That was a dark past I thought would be forever locked away!
まあ今のユウも十分可愛いけどね。
She closed in for another kiss. She pulled away and smiled tenderly. But anyway, don't they say people are good kissers if they can tie a cherry stem with their tongue? To escape her gaze, I tried changing the subject.
そんなことできなくても、私はユウのキスが好きよ。
Actually, how long is this game supposed to be? IMDb, not fiction. 2 to 10 hours. I'm assuming that's with the sex scenes, so... I don't know if I'll be able to finish that in one go, then. But you managed to turn that back onto me as well.
ユウにキスされただけで、おへその下がキュンとくるしね。
I don't know why the white flashes show up every now and again. Is she inviting me for round 3? I mean, I wouldn't turn her down. If it's with her, I could easily go all night. Despite that, I felt my body slowly slipping into a comfortable tiredness, and I just couldn't stave off. The moment that thought crossed my mind, the wave of fatigue washed over me.
You?
As my conscience slowly faded, I tried to respond to her words.
おやすみ。
But then, her gentle motherly tone coaxed me further. Before I knew it, my consciousness had completely crossed over into the realm of dreams.
寝ちゃった。もうちょっとだけイチャイチャしていたかったけど。でも仕方ないわね。今夜はすごく愛してくれたものね。今夜もね。おやすみ、ユウ。
Turn off the fucking... Still gonna watch it, but I'm not gonna show you because there's porn in this. Not a Mia.
Alright, that one is actually censored. That one is actually censored too. That one is actually censored too. What's that? So I was fucking lied to. I could have shown this the opening easily, since all this, like the sex CGs were censored. This was an evening like any other. Okay, I turned on the fucking feed again, but it won't fucking turn on. And also, he's in the bath. Come home from work, eating dinner with Chisa, and was now relaxing in a warm bath. And that's the life. Blah, blah, blah. Was a pretty average but fulfilling daily life. You know what? Fuck it, just quick save. Yes. And just close the game real quick. Back to title, yes. Okay, it's all in here. And the sex CGs show up at some point. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more normal CGs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 more sexy CGs, I'm assuming. I am a quarter done, apparently. And 20% done with the sex scenes. Anyways, let me just quit the game real quick. Open the game again. Hachimitsu. Oh, there we go. Continue. Was a pretty average but fulfilling daily life. Let's do this again. Completely immersed in that happiness, I could hear Jesus' voice on the other side of the door. It's perfect. Okie dokes. After saying this, she seems to have left me to leisurely soak, as I could hear the light taps of her footsteps gradually fading. She really thinks of everything, huh? Wait a second. Having a prepared towel for me. That was a step too far. Need to man up already! Can't let things continue like this. I raised my head out of the water. I'm not sure if it was the warmth of the water, but when I got out of the bath, my mind felt super sharp. I stepped out of the bath and reached for the towel, wiping my face, and I headed into the living room. I'm done with my bath! Called out to her as I left the bathroom, and saw Chisa relaxing in her pajamas, reading a magazine. Noticing me, she looked up at me and smiled sweetly. Yeah, it was super relaxing. Thanks for bringing me my towel. I made my way towards the kitchen and turned on the coffee machine. Do you want any, Chisa? Gotcha. Since I work at a cafe, I've gotten quite used to making coffee. After getting out of the bath, I would often brew up a steaming hot coffee for the both of us. A steaming hot cup. At first, I would just brew a regular old cup, but since I started my job, I've gotten pretty into it. We even have our own fancy machine now. Where do these people get all their money? Incidentally, I would also use this as an excuse to keep Chisa company during some of her late nights. So once I'd started thinking I wanted to be more helpful to her, I started learning how to do small things like this. Though if you compare my coffee to the owners, well, let's just say I still have a long way to go. Yeah, that's a nice smooth finish. Sampling the espresso first, I concluded that it was good enough. Doesn't matter how high-tech the machine is, experience reigns supreme once you get to this point. Adding milk to the espresso, I had my own little twist before I was finally finished. Then I brought it over to Chisa. Here you go.
相変わらずいい香り。
A fucking latte art.
それにこれ、クマさん？
She came across my little twist, then delightedly faced me to ask about it. Yep, I'm finally able to make them now. I added some latte art to her coffee. Until recently, I'd only been able to do basic stuff like hearts and such. Everything else always ended up looking deformed. That said, I recently decided to step up my game, and I've been waiting to show her my progress. Today, my chance has finally arrived.
へえ、すごい。ユウはもう立派なバリスタね。
Nah, I'm nowhere near that good yet. I say that, but hearing the one I love compliment me made me really happy. Besides, this part is rather messy.
そんなことないわよ。私はできないもの。
She smiled, doubling down on her
でも
praise.
ここまで可愛いともったいなくて飲めないわね。
She stared at her cup with a mild look of distress.
だから代わりに頑張ったユウを飲んじゃおうかな。
Her eyes were shining and full of temptation. I blushed furiously in response to her teasing. I can just make you another one whenever you want. Let's just start with the coffee for now, okay?
かわいい。それじゃユウはまた今度飲むとしてありがたくいただくわね。
Sure, that sounds fine. Even if it's a pretty common occurrence by now, her teasing was still bad for my heart. Actually, at this point, she'd been doing it for years. I really should just hurry up and get used to it. When the person I love teases me, getting flustered is just part of my nature. While pondering my life choices, I tried my own coffee.
あ、そうそう。お風呂入ってるとき誰かから連絡来てたよ。彼女から？
Spit out some of the coffee I'd been drinking. Luckily, I had missed the carpet and landed on the table. Good thing it won't stain. What are you saying? You're the only one for me, Chisa. Jeez. My phone, which had been lying on the table, was blinking to indicate an unread notification. It seemed someone had indeed tried to contact me. I grabbed my phone to check, only to find a message from Chisa saying I love you. She'd also attached a photo of her in underwear.
誰からだった？
Oh, butt. Just cheeky butt down in the corner. If I was an asshole, I could just cover it. I was trying to look for the one that, like, I thought I still had one set up down in this corner, and I was trying to look for it, but nah. She asked me with a huge grin on her face. Suddenly, something firm pressed up against me.
へえ、誰からだったの？
Chisa pressed up against me from behind and spoke right next to my ear.
あ、固まってる。おーい。
Ah! I'd finally returned to my senses.
どうだった？
Why on earth would you send me this?
なんてものって失礼ね。私のエッチな画像、嬉しくない？
That's, well... She got me, but I can't just admit that!
嬉しいんだ。
See, even though I stayed silent, she just saw through me anyway. Wait, that isn't the problem here!
まあまあ、愛のいたずらって思えば。
Pranks aside, she almost gave me a heart attack. Letting out a deep sigh, I decided to close the image for now. Closing my phone, I held the power button and put it into sleep mode for the time being.
あ、ちゃっかり保存してる。
Well, I feel like deleting it would be wrong. Wait, wouldn't saving it actually be worse? Anyway, please don't send me things like that.
どうしようかしら。
Her massive grin couldn't possibly grow any wider. Oh, fine! I'm so very thankful for the gracious gift that my beloved Chisa sent to my phone!
ありがとう。
Listening to my confession, she smiled. I had lost.
さっき雑誌見てたら、こういうのが最近流行ってるらしくて、ついやってみたくなっちゃったのよね。
Wow, magazines are pretty extreme these days. Well, I can't deny that some part of me doesn't actually enjoy it when she teases me. If she sent that to me at work, I'd have freaked out. But real talk, whoever wrote that article, thanks.
それより、今度のデートどこ行こっか。
Turns out she's the one who wrote it. Our next date, huh?
散歩か映画か、ショッピングか。
Which one would you prefer, Chisa?
映画は気になるのないし、かといって買いたいものもないし。
After thinking about it for a moment, those were the choices she came up with.
ラブホデート。
When hearing her outrageous words, it took my brain a moment to process what she said. Can we choose something a bit more wholesome? I agree with him.
冗談冗談。それは夜のお楽しみだしね。
She says that like we're still going. But I'd actually go if she wanted to, so I left it at that. Oh, what about cherry blossom viewing?
花見?
Yeah, they're beautiful this year. But it makes for some relaxing viewing. Well, so how about it?
そうね。そうしましょうか。そうなると、お弁当を作らないといけないわね。何かリクエストはある?
It's your cooking, so I'm sure it'll be great either way.
じゃあ、美味しいもの作ろうか。
He met my somewhat vague request. Chisa wore a delighted, satisfied smile. Sounds like a plan. I'm looking forward to it. I'll have to go buy a picnic blanket.
じゃあ、それまでにある程度仕事を終わらせておかないとね。
Is it going well?
ぼちぼち?
Well, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Though, there's not much that I can really do.
何言ってるのよ。ユウはいるだけで私の支えになってるんだから。こうやって抱きつかせてくれたり、まったりできれば私はいいの。
She rested her chin on my shoulder. That's good, I guess.
あ、でもコーヒーだけはお願いね。作業のお供にユウのコーヒーは欠かせないのよね。
Shall I make you another then?
お願い。
Continuing our idle chit-chat for a while longer, another relaxing evening passed by us. I may cut the day short, since I'm starting to feel tired a bit. I had to work at the garden, so I'm maybe a bit exhausted. One afternoon, we were both particularly busy today. Both of us were sitting in the living room. I was studying while Chisa worked.
ユウは春休みなのにしっかり勉強してて偉いよね。
You think?
私の場合、春休みって言ったら自分のことばっかしてたじゃない?
You say that, but you were always helping me with my studies. The old me always played around during breaks. Then I'd cry to her, would drop everything to help.
結婚してるから言うけど、あれ、一緒にいたい口実にはちょうどよかったのよね。
That's a new one.
あの頃から私、ユウのこと好きだったし。
I see. Hearing that from her made me incredibly happy. I also wanted an excuse to be with you, which is probably why I let it pile up like that. That was almost certainly the case. I just wanted to be with her, so I would create any reason that I could think of.
じゃあ一緒ね。
Knowing that you'd felt the same way as I did brought a massive smile to my face. Though, if you never studied, then wouldn't your grades have suffered? Something told me that she was just incredibly intelligent.
そうでもなかったわよ。文系の成績は元から良かったけど、それ以外は普通くらいで。ただユウに勉強を教えてたら、それが復習になって分かりやすく教えようって思ったら理解度も深まって、自然とできるようになってたのよね。
But if you weren't intelligent from the start, would you really be able to get to that point? Pretty sure I wouldn't be able to, for example.
それは愛ゆえね。そう考えるとユウって私の人生にとって本当にかけがえのない存在なんだなって。本当に愛してる。
The smile she gave me was unbelievably radiant. Am I married to an angel? Yeah. I love you too, Chisa. In the midst of my lingering embarrassment, Chisa suddenly drew close to me. She planted a soft kiss on my lips.
ちょっと苦いキスの味。
I mean, I have been drinking coffee. Spring weather always made me sleepy, so I've been drinking coffee all morning. Apparently that taste had lingered in our kiss.
じゃあ私の唇の味は甘いミルクコーヒーだった？
Well, honestly, I was too nervous, so I can't recall.
なら確かめるためにももう一回しないとね。
She brought her face closer to mine once more, touching her lips to mine. She pried open my lips with her tongue, intertwining our tongues for a much deeper kiss. Having thoroughly explored the inside of my mouth, she pulled away with a satisfied grin.
私の味どうだった？
How was it? Well, I felt like I was the one being tasted. Besides, that kiss was so intense that I couldn't focus on the taste at all. Instead, I had to focus all my energy on not getting hard.
ごちそうさまでした。
Couldn't tell if this round of teasing was intentional or not, but she wore a satisfied smile nonetheless.
さあ、言うから元気もいっぱいもらったし、残りの仕事も頑張りましょうか。
She turned her attention back to her laptop once again. I'd better get back to it. Actually, before that, would you like a refill on your usual coffee with extra milk and sugar? Housing her empty mug on top of the table, I called out to her.
お願い。
Coming right up. And so I took a small break while I made her coffee before we both sadly resumed our work. Occasionally, I would glance over at her as she worked. When she saw that, she would turn a smile. When I was stuck, she would come help me. Time passed idly by in that laid-back atmosphere. Let out a dramatic yawn. Seems fatigue has finally caught up with me. As is naturally the case when yawning, my mouth was wide open. Don't I try to close it.
おっきなあくび。
She suddenly stuck her pinky in my mouth, effectively causing me to open my lips around it. To close my lips around it. What are you doing? Is what I was trying to ask, but I gave the obvious obstruction protruding from my mouth. What came out instead was a garbled mess.
おっきなあくびだから指を突っ込んでみたいなって。
Nevertheless, it seems she'd managed to pick up the meaning behind my garbled speech.
Aye!
She smiled from ear to ear as she said this, but I couldn't exactly get too mad at her. More often than not, pulling stuff like this, she would simply smile and laugh it off. Couldn't shake off the feeling that she was treating me like a child when she did that, but there was a part of me that enjoyed being treated that way, so I couldn't help but feel a bit conflicted. Above all else, seeing her smile happily made those concerns seem insignificant. Seeming to have had her fun, she finally pulled her finger from my mouth. When she did that, I was overcome with loneliness. Wait, what did I think? What was I thinking?
眠い？
I bet the warm spring weather does that to me sometimes. Apparently, it was the shifting temperatures and sunlight. On top of that, I was living in an incredibly relaxing and fulfilling daily life. Together, they were a perfect storm, making me sleepy.
そうね。今日は一段といい天気だものね。仕事も詰まってないし、一緒に日向ぼっこでもしながらお昼寝する？
As good as that sounds, I'll have to pass today. Even if I'm technically on spring break, I need to study or I'll never be able to support her. While I didn't exactly say that out loud, I knew I couldn't neglect my studies if I truly meant that. Declining this sort of thing was how I kept my resolve.
なんならお姉さんの膝の上でもいいのよ。
She patted her thighs invitingly. The sunlight shone through the window, illuminating her lap. Is that heaven? Despite the incredibly tempting offer, I had no choice but to turn away from the promised land. One must not partake of the forbidden fruit. You know, you're always acting carefree until your deadlines come knocking. Maybe if you have extra time now, wouldn't it be best to keep up the pace rather than let it slip away?
うぐ。
Looks like I got her.
なんとも痛いところをつくわね。いいのいいの。それはフリーランスの宿命。醍醐味だから。
I don't know if I follow that logic.
昔の言うなら一緒に寝るって真っ先に私の膝に頭乗せてたのに。
Since when? Thinking back, the last time I would have done that was when I was still shorter than her.
あの頃のユウは可愛かったな。
I wasn't exactly thrilled at being called cute. Wait, stop it right there, me. Those reactions are your childish pride acting up. So I was thinking
も
that...
ちろん今のユウも可愛くてかっこよくて大好きだけどね。
She suddenly drew close. It seemed like she could see directly into my heart. Couldn't figure out if I was happy or embarrassed.
瞬間湯沸かし器みたいに顔が真っ赤になった。本当にユウっていつまで経ってもうぶよね。まあそこは昔よりも可愛くなったところよね。
She definitely gets off on teasing me. Well, if she enjoys it, I guess it's fine. After that, we both returned to our respective tasks. Before we knew it, nighttime had arrived. I stretched and groaned. Across the room, I could hear Chisa's voice overlap with my own. We looked over at each other, and when our eyes met, we had burst out laughing. Great minds think alike, huh?
こういうところも夫婦って似るのかな。
It really
そろ
does.
そろ疲れた？
Nah, I think I'm still okay. Truth be told, I'm actually pretty tired. But when I considered that she'd been working as hard as I was, I didn't want to admit that. As long as she was still going at it, my pride wouldn't let me rest before she did. If I truly wanted to make her happy, I had to be the type of person that wouldn't make excuses. I turned my attention back to my notes. At that exact moment, I could feel his presence behind me, so I turned around only to find a wild Chisa clinging to me.
どこかわからないところとかある？
Not particularly. Feeling two exceptionally soft bulges pressed against my back, my voice cracked a bit. I accidentally clicked off the game.
わからないなら遠慮なく聞いてくれていいよ。いつでも個人授業しちゃうから。
At that, she shifted her weight behind me. I could directly feel her breasts squishing against me. Studying was a lost cause at this point. She did this on purpose, didn't she? I'm fine, really. This is bad. At this rate, my ability to concentrate will go so far into a ditch, you might as well call it the Grand Canyon. Chisa, you should get back to work. I'll call you over if I get stuck anywhere. Despite my pleading, she continues to press her chest against me. She's definitely doing this on purpose.
どれ、お姉さんが見てあげましょう。
She draped herself over me. I became overly conscious of the bulges pressing against me. I just said that I was fine, didn't I?
本当に？
I'm sure, okay? I caught a glimpse of her amused expression. I'd considered that this might be a dangerous scenario, but her hand was already on my crotch. What, Chisa? She started stroking me through my pants. Looks like this is happening. Against my better judgment, my member had gotten hard a while ago from the feeling of her breasts. Between their softness and her stroking the bulge in my pants, it was incredibly turned on. Chisa, your hand!
なに？ほら、勉強するんでしょ？
I could see the evil behind that smile of hers.
やっぱりわからないところがある？優しく教えてあげるわよ。
At this point, my dick was rock hard. Meanwhile, she continued caressing me through my pants. The feeling of her rubbing me through the fabric was completely different from her bare hands.
それで、どこが聞きたい？
That's not the issue here.
あら？どうしたの？
You know damn well I'm supposed to be...
そんなことって、どんなこと？
She reeled me in hook, line, and sinker. Doesn't matter what I say. She's always got a response. Anyway, they're pressing against me.
押し当てたりとか？他には？
Well, you're touching me too.
それで集中できなくなっちゃった。
I mean, isn't that obvious? I don't think there's a single man out there who could focus on in this situation.
じゃあ私が離れたらまた勉強に集中できるようになる？
That would be particularly problematic. There's zero chance that I'd be able to study if she stopped now. Leaving me hanging like that would be torture.
ここがこんなになっちゃったらちょっと勉強はできない？
Well, even though I didn't outright say it, Chisa finally gave in.
こうなったのも私のせいだし、責任取らないとね。
With an utterly amused expression, she started lowering my zipper in a practiced manner. She gently took out my now swollen yes and gazed at it fondly.
もう言ったら勉強中なのにこんなにおちんちん大きくしちゃって。
Yep, she has his dick in her hand now. See you after the sex scene. It's back to Chisa's side now. By fucking guy. I was working on my laptop and I was startled by the sound of my phone vibrating next to me. Opening the message, I saw it was an image sent by an old acquaintance from college. The caption read, "Have you tried this new pudding? It's amazing." The pudding in the attached image was overflowing with whipped cream. Responding softly, I tapped up my reply and sent it to her. No, I haven't. Thanks for the tip. I'll check it out soon.
相変わらず甘いものに目がないわね。
Every now and again, I'd receive messages from her with this new sweet that she'd be recommending. She seemed to be some sort of sweets missionary. Though her recommendations were always spot on, he would often use them as reference for his desserts. My phone vibrated again with another message. By the way, how's the married life treating you? The answer to that question was obvious. Humming quietly, I tapped up a response. How do I put this? All I can say is every day is filled with happiness. Any other response would be unthinkable. My phone immediately vibrated again. Ho ho! I'm happy to hear that. Next time we're together, let's brag about each other's love lives. I read her message and smiled fondly. By the way, she happens to be happily married as well. Her and her husband were the ideal couple. Even from this message alone, pure sap was oozing outward by the gallon.
ラブラブ具合なら私とユウも負けてないけどね。
Humming that to myself, I typed up my reply. Sounds like a plan. I'll shoot over my schedule later so we can plan something soon. As soon as I hit the send button, my phone buzzed. Prior to that, well, my lunch break is almost over now, so let's chat later. Her and her husband both worked full-time. Even after getting married, she continued working as well. Have fun at work. After sending her those words of encouragement, she followed suit with some of her own. Thanks, girl. I'm looking forward to reading your next work. After marking the message as read, I let out a heavy sigh. Staring at this text floating on my phone screen, the words "next work" jumped out at me. I stared blankly at the screen for a moment.
新作か。
Hearing those words not from a colleague, but from a close friend.
何にも出てこないのよね。
Indeed, I wasn't progressing with my latest novel. In fact, I wasn't working on it at all. My current work involved writing columns and such for magazines.
まあ原因ははっきりしてるんだけど。
The motivation that had driven me to write novels up until now was gone. The motivation was tied to a certain grudge I'd had. A grudge tied to a promise I'd made as a kid. I didn't think our marriage would happen. Those bitter memories formed the basis of my writing. Okay, that was mildly funny, actually.
叶うはずないと思ってたからね。
I thought ours was a love that would never bear fruit. But it did.
それは本当に幸せなんだけど、そろそろまずいわよね。
I smiled bitterly. It's not like I'd lived a particularly hard life. I was receiving more than enough
だ
work.
けど作家として生きていくならこのままじゃいけないわよね。
Even when my editor rejects my ideas, I always end up thinking that it could be worse. That rejection doesn't crush my desire to keep writing.
構想自体が何もできてないっていうのはちょっとね。
Whenever an idea pops up, I always find myself comparing it to my old work. When I do that, the ideas always feel incredibly average. That one's no good, this one's no good either. I found myself involuntarily stuck at the concept stage.
焦れば焦るほどいい考えって出てこないしな。
As a writer, I've run into this insurmountable wall. I didn't think it would be this difficult or take this long for me to get over it. I straightened my back, trying to change my mental state. Glancing at the clock, I jumped in surprise.
もうこんな時間じゃない。
You would be getting off work pretty
いけ
soon.
ないいけない。そろそろ喫茶店に行かないと。家で悶々としているより、外に出た方が気分転換になるしね。
But above all, I just wanted to see the face of my beloved. Having finished getting ready to leave, I head out to the cafe, and my mood already brightened. I took a sip of my coffee, happily
ユ
sighing.
ーの入れてくれたコーヒー、美味しい。
I whispered this quietly to myself, but since Yu was nearby, I could see a wry smile rise to his lips. I'm glad you're enjoying my coffee, but aren't you supposed to be working right now?
いいのいいの。まだ余裕はあるから。
So you say, but I'm sure once your deadline comes around, you'll regret it.
今回は順調よ。
I tried acting tough. Is that so? His deadpan expression told me he wasn't buying it. That's right, I forgot to mention something yesterday.
何かしら。
We got a delivery from for some energy drinks. I left them in the usual place in the house. Living together for so long as we have, there was no way a lie like that would have gone over his head. Energy drinks were like a limit break weapon that I needed to fight that final boss by rapidly approaching deadlines. I viewed them as a symbol of my weakness, so I always tried to buy them when he wasn't around, but I forgot to account for spring break.
ところで、このラテアートはユーが描いたの？
Wary of having my weakness targeted, I tried changing the subject. That's right. You smiled wryly once more, having totally caught onto my plan. Despite recognizing that, he seemed to be going along with it. I loved that kindness of his.
この前よりも上手になってる。
The last one he made has some inconsistencies in the finer details, but this one didn't.
また腕を上げたんじゃない？
Those were my honest impressions. Thanks, I'm glad you like it. He smiled bashfully at my words.
こういうの見ると、飲むのがもったいなくなるのよね。
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. I'll just make you another one when you finish.
だって美味しいし。せっかくのコーヒーが冷めてももったいないじゃない？
It's really nothing special. Just an extra bonus I added for you.
そう？結構上手だと思うけど。
Yeah, but it's not good enough to sell yet. I'd heard him say this before, but it seems he hasn't tried it out with any other customers except me. While it makes me a bit happy to know I'm getting it all to myself, it also feels like a bit of a waste.
私なら目当てに通っちゃうけどな。
If a cute store clerk like him brought my order out like that, I'd be coming here every day for sure.
ユーのラテアートって飲む人を楽しませようって気持ちが見えるから。
You think?
飲むと元気になれちゃいそう。
Come now, you're exaggerating. He turned away from me with an embarrassment.
だから締め切り前にはぜひエナジードリンクでラテアートをお願い。
That's impossible, so no.
え
My request was mercilessly shot down. We smiled at each other, enjoying the light atmosphere we'd created together. So we spent the afternoon chatting away about trivial things. I treasured moments like these the most. I hope to see more and more of them in the years to come.
夫婦になってこういう時間を過ごせるようになるなんて本気では信じてなかったな。
But the love story I'd always treated as nothing more than a fairy tale. It actually came true. While we may still be considered young, I felt we'd already passed a huge hurdle in life. Compared to that, the concerns I had about my writing seemed like mere trifles. Besides,
幸せだしなんとかなるでしょ。
I decided to take on a positive outlook. I didn't need logic to have this level of confidence. Huh? Did you say something? Did you just say something? He turned around, so I flashed him a smile.
愛してるよって言った。
Surprised by my words, his face turned beet red. The adorable expression on my beloved's face was captivating as I gazed upon it. An idea for a novel began to form in my mind. And thus, she made this game. Actually, oh my god, I just realized that that cafe mildly looks like the cafe in Wagamama High Spec, doesn't it? Huh. Sped up my notebook. I think it was Wagamama High Spec. Don't quote me on that. I'm fucking retarded. I spread out my notebooks on the table and started writing. As a student, it was my job to study. I needed to spend ample time reviewing the coursework. Chisa was working beside me on her laptop. When she was working at the cafe earlier, she seemed so cool and refined. Wait, bad you. My thoughts were one step away from dangerous territory. I need to actually get some studying in today. The sound of my pencil sharpener filled the room. That and the occasional sigh from either myself or Chisa. It was an evening where nothing really happened. But even evenings such as these were fulfilling as long as they were spent with Chisa. Wait, what?
どうかしたの?
It's wrong indeed. I've been studying for the past 20 minutes, but I haven't heard a single click of her keyboard this entire time. Given that she was a writer, that struck me as a bit odd. I knew she didn't have to be typing the entire time. She would spend time thinking as well, but she tended to do that sort of thinking in her office rather than here in the living room. Usually she would just be typing here. It was pretty rare for her to switch things up, so I was a little worried. She hadn't been typing at all this whole time. She simply stared at her laptop, deep in thought. What's up, Chisa? Oh, you're not working right now?
あら、わかった?
Anyone could tell just from looking at you.
ユウはそれだけ私のことを見ているんだ。
That's technically true.
ねえねえ、教えてユウ。そんなに私のことを見ていたの?
Just a bit, okay? Got all quiet, so I got curious, and then...
ちょっとでも見ていたんだ。
That's... well, yeah.
ありがとう。
Oh, I saw that little bob. That was adorable. Why are you thanking me all of a sudden?
大好きなユウの視線を独り占めできたことが嬉しいの。
If you're thanking me for thinking about you, then... well, I'm always doing that. What's wrong?
ちょっとドキッとしちゃった。
Her warm smile was incredibly cute. She once again fully occupied my thoughts. Anyway. What were you doing? Trying to salvage a bit of my embarrassment. I tried to bring us back on topic.
教えてほしい？気になる？
Well, I am rather curious. Her expression was so serious after all.
実はとあるサイトを見ていたの。
What kind of
エ
sight?
ッチなサイト。
Her unexpected response caused me to be seized by a violent coughing fit.
最初はただの興味本位だったんだけど、意外と勉強になるわこれ。なるほど。いろいろな性行為があるのね。
For some reason, she seemed incredibly pleased with herself as she explained this. Why were you looking at a site like that? Was it for research for one of your stories or something?
違うわよ。これは仕事とは全く無関係かな。
Then why?
だってほら、いろいろなエッチをしてみたいじゃない？
She said this with a straight face. Then, as if on cue, came a smug smile.
ユウもしてみたいと思わない？いろいろなエッチ。
That's... naughty things of Chisa. My imagination took the wheel, and before I knew it, my cheeks were burning red.
想像した？ユウのエッチ。
That's because you're saying all these weird things.
ごめんね。困らせるつもりはなかったんだ。
Either I'm high or my breath is really fucking hot. Am I getting sick?
Hmm. ただ、ユウともっといろいろなことをしてみたいなって思って。
I see. Was I embarrassed right now or happy? I couldn't say anything in response. I could only get out a somewhat dazed smile. I carried that feeling with me for the rest of the evening as I took my bath and prepared for bed. I'm done with my bath. Got out, Chisa was laying in bed. Chisa? Why were her cheeks so flushed all of a sudden? She was looking at me so feverishly too. Are you not taking a bath tonight?
それは後でかな。それよりも。
Chisa? She rapidly closed the distance between us. From this distance I could see her eyes were glossed over. This is, the allure of a grown woman. What's wrong?
エロサイトなんて見てたせいか、なんかムラムラしちゃったのよね。
Huh?
だから、しよ。
What? Not fully grasping the situation, I stared at her blankly. What? Chisa suddenly grabbed my hand and pushed me onto the bed and pinned me down.
あ、ごめん、痛かった。
I'm okay. I was so surprised that I didn't brace myself, but since I fell into the bed, I didn't hurt
本当
myself.
にごめんね。
It's okay, don't worry
あ
about
り
it.
がとう。ユウは優しいね。でも、それじゃあ私の気が収まらないから、お詫びにしっかりと気持ちよくしてあげる。
This is so sudden. Do I really not want this? Well, of course I do.
いいよ。
I didn't say that, but...
ユウはしたくない？
Whoops. There you go. I absolutely wanted it. I was just too embarrassed to say anything.
じゃあ、エッチな勉強しましょうか。
She sat next to me on the bed and quickly stripped away my sweatpants and the boob job.
ユウのおちんちん、大きくなってる。
Back to skipping. We're back from the sex scene and she is again nudie on the bed. What the fuck? She didn't say a word as she simply stared into my eyes. Chisa? Earth Chisa.
目と鼻と口が2つずつ。
Of course that... Wait, why do I have two noses and mouths now? That wouldn't exactly be a pleasant sight.
騙されなかった。
Would you even fall for that? So, why were you staring at me like that?
可愛いなって見とれてた。
I see. I couldn't tell if I should be happy or not. As a guy, I'd definitely prefer it if she called me handsome. But regardless of that, simply being complimented by her was enough to make me happy.
顔が赤いわよ。
Nope, I am the image of calm.
照れた？
I am not! Tried making my voice set upset, but,
大好きよ、ユウ。
she responded with a sneak attack, throwing me off my game. She really wasn't fair. Thanks. This time around, I was completely unable to hide the heat growing in my cheeks. Seeing me blush, she simply smiled.
そういえば、
She spoke as though she'd remembered something.
今度はどんなエッチをしてみたい？
She said it so suddenly that I started coughing again. I just realized that I should probably set up the fucking vote. I'll just do that on video real quick. And there we go. You take out Yukiko mouth, leaving Happy Mayor 1-1 a lot more. No, Yukiko mouth still stays. So Yukiko mouth, Happy Mayor 1 Yan a la mode, and 9. Okay. just open up that. One. How the fuck do you write that? Shit. Oh, 9-9. It's a 9 dash the word 9. A dash Doppelpunkt episode 1. There you go, that's the correct title. There we go, done with that. She said it's so sunny that I started coughing again. What are you saying all of a sudden?
エロサイトを見てて分かったんだけど、パイ釣りや大好きホールドだけじゃなくて、もっといろいろなエッチがあるみたいなのよね。たくさんしてみたいと思わない？
That's indeed, there were plenty of things she and I hadn't done yet together yet.
あ、想像したでしょ。顔が赤いわよ。ユウにならどんな行為でもしてあげるわよ。
She asked me this with an enchanting smile. We just finished having sex and we're already talking about lewd things.
そりゃユウをいっぱい感じたいもの。だね。
Not at all. No, how do I put this? It's like you're a carnivore and I'm your prey. I feel like she's planning to eat me right now.
ユウを感じるまでエッチがこんな幸せで気持ちいいものだって知らなかったからね。こんなの知っちゃったらいっぱいしたいし、それにもっとユウを感じたいから。
Yeah, I do too.
ならまた今度いっぱいエッチしましょうね。
She gave me a sugary sweet smile.
ねえユウ、私の方を見て。
Like this. She suddenly placed her lips on mine.
好きよユウ。
I sat there in a daze for several seconds. Love you too, Chisa. Blushing profusely at her surprise attack, I mustered up the best response I could. The sunlight streamed through the window. Feeling its warmth on my skin, I opened my eyes. It's morning already. Stood up and stretched lightly. What's this then? Glanced down at the bed, noticing something strange. For some reason, Chisa was still asleep. She usually got up before I did to make us both breakfast. Did I wake up early or something? Double checked the time, but it was the same as always. It was pretty weird for her to sleep in. But we did go at it pretty hard yesterday. She's probably still recovering from that. She should just take it easy today. As these thoughts crossed my mind, I found myself staring at her face as she slept. Face is so cute when she's sleeping. It looked somewhat refined and helpless all in one. Felt like I would never grow tired of staring at it. Her cheeks looked so soft. How do I put this? Kinda want to poke her. Surely a little can't hurt. She was always poking fun at me, right? Can't a guy have a little fun every now and again? Oh! Pressed inward with the tip of my finger, and it was unexpectedly soft and bouncy. While I was surprised at their squishiness, it was their warmth that was that was perhaps most surprising. The sensation can only be described as utter perfection. I refuse to believe she hasn't done this to me before. Would one more poke be okay though? It's fine, right? I poked them again. Ah! By the time I'd started feeling a tinge of regret, it was already too late. She'd already opened her eyes.
もうさ。あれ、ユウ起きてたの？おはよう。
She seemed to realize that I'd been poking her cheeks. We've been compromised! Abort mission! Within mere moments, her cheeks had flushed a bright shade of red. Waking you up, baby?
なんで疑問形？というか、頬をツンツンって。なんでそんな、ああ、もう、いきなりすぎてうまくものが考えられない。
He just stands all over and near the fucking window, just like. Like this is such a rare occurrence. I just gonna have to take a photo. Huh? Somebody commented. Oh, it was an earlier comment. I'm sorry, I think. Seemed incredibly confused right now, so I apologize without thinking. She carried that behavior into her morning routine. This made for quite the lively atmosphere. Go on, start charging. Start charging. There we go. I continued like that until it was time for breakfast.
不覚だった。
At what?
まさか。起きられないなんて。しかも、ユウに頬をつつかれて起きるとか。
Was it that bad?
嫌じゃないけど、でもそういうことじゃなくて。
That frantic mood of hers continued for a while. It was always the other way around. Even though I felt a bit bad for her, it was fun to watch. I have to say, your sleeping face is really cute. On a typical day, these sorts of attacks would never connect, but it seems today was different.
そう言われるのは嬉しいんだけど、でも、複雑な気分。
Always doing this stuff to me, though.
それはそうなんだけど、自分がするのとされるのとでは勝手が違うというか、言うだから恥ずかしくなっちゃうのよ。
Well, on my end, I'm just happy that I get exclusive rights to seeing your sleeping face. That was how it really felt, but there was a small part of me that also liked having turned the tables. Seeing the smug look plastered on my face, she let out a massive sigh, clearly not happy.
というか、やっぱり若さか。
You're still only in your 20s yourself, though?
この年になればわかるよ。早いのよ、1年が。
I didn't want to relate to the girl! I don't want to relate to the female in these games, but by God, I'm relating so much right now. 9 days! By the time this uploads, exactly 1 week. This should go up on the 16th. No. Yeah, no. On the 16th. Am I being retarded right now? We'll go on up on Sunday. I feel like I'm being retarded right now. No, 16th is right. I'm being I'm being retarded right now. Because for the uninitiated, May 23rd is actually my birthday, and I'll be turning 21. And I'm not too happy about it. Help me. Anyways. Her expression was distant. She looked really depressed. I didn't know how to respond, so I was only able to muster a dry laugh. Chisa sighed. Let's be happy that it's an S and not a C. After a long meeting with my editor, I'd finally made it home. Now that I was back, I could be with you. I moved brightened considerably at the thought. I want to see him, or so I thought, but he didn't seem to be coming to greet me. Instead, I could smell something burning. I opened the door to the living room, only to find a dejected you standing in the kitchen.
Tadaima.
Welcome home, Chisa. Something seemed off about him. He seemed down for some reason. I wonder what's wrong.
どうかした?
Huh?
元気ないみたいだけど。
Well. I tried to make dinner. You mentioned you'd be getting home late tonight, right? So I thought I'd do the cooking for once.
優が代わりに?
I don't think I've ever had a bigger smile on my face before. The fact that he tried to make dinner for me, that he'd worked so hard for me. I was so unbelievably happy that I didn't think I'd ever stop smiling. I thought I followed the recipe to a T. It was supposedly easy to make, but I'm sorry. He lowered his head and apologized for some reason.
どうしたの?
Well, look at what happened. He stepped to the side. Peering into the kitchen, I could see ingredients spread all over the place. But I also saw what was supposed to be our dinner? I think?
あらら。
Looking at the mess before me, I smiled wryly.
そっか、失敗しちゃったんだ。
I thought I could handle it if it was something simple. All I did was waste our ingredients. I'm really sorry. His downcast expression looked just like a child's. This might sound weird, but I found that incredibly cute.
気にしないで。私のために作ろうとしてくれたんでしょ。すごく嬉しい。
I wasn't just trying to comfort him. I really felt that way. It's you we're talking about, so I'm sure he was thinking I'd be too tired to cook when I got home. There's no way I wouldn't be happy about this. It didn't matter that he'd failed to make it. I was just really happy that he'd tried. Those feelings came out and started to overflow. The next thing I knew, I was hugging him tightly. Chisa?
私のためにありがとう。
But I ruined it.
最初はそんなものだから、いきなりうまくいくなんてことないわよ。
Plus,
成功失敗はどうでもいいの。ユウが私のためにご飯を作ろうとしてくれた。そのことがすごく嬉しい。だから、ありがとう。
trying to get my feelings through to him, I hugged him even tighter. Thank you, Chisa. Even though I made such a mess, if you're happy, then I am too. Was I able to cheer him up a bit?
それじゃ、片付けをしよっか。
Though I was a bit reluctant to do so, I let go of him and rolled up my sleeves. No, it's okay, I'll do it. I was the one who made the mess after all.
こーら。
I poked his nose.
そういうのはなし。二人で一緒にしよう。その方が早いしね。それに早く終わればその分、二人でイチャイチャできるでしょ。
Jeez, in that case, would you mind helping too?
もちろん。よしっと。こんなところかしら。
For long, we'd finished cleaning up,
それじゃあ、改めてご飯にしようか。
but our ingredients.
あ
If I left to buy more now, by the time I finished preparing dinner, it would be really
ー、
late.
じゃあ今日は出前にしましょうか。ちょうど前に気になるチラシがあったのよね。
I walked over to the mountain of flyers, picked up the one I had in mind, and showed it to him. Soba noodles.
うん、美味しそうでしょ。
It really does. We have so many options.
ユウは何にする？
He agonized over the menu for a bit. I think I'll go with the tsukimi soma.
いいわね。私も月見にしようかしら。
But the wild veggies option sounds good as well. That were way too many options to pick from. Why don't we both get one and then share? You came to the rescue with the perfect solution.
それいい意見。じゃあ私は山菜そばを頼むわね。
Alright. Having decided on our orders, I called the restaurant. Then we waited patiently for it to arrive.
どうしたの？ため息なんてついて。
Nothing really, I guess. So he says, but knowing him, I'm sure he was still worried about what happened earlier. It's so easy to read.
やれやれ。
Does he? What? I didn't say anything. My lips curled into a smile. Then I embraced him gently. What? Your boobs? His cheeks turned red. He blushed all the way up to his ears. Ignoring his protests, I hugged him even tighter than before. Still holding him tightly, I asked him in a gentle
まだ
voice.
気にしてる？
Just a little. Actually, yeah, quite a bit. I wanted to be useful to you. I was happy to hear that. I wouldn't want him to get stuck in that line of thing.
そんなに焦らなくても大丈夫。
To ensure my feelings reached him as much as possible, I squeezed him tightly in my
少
embrace.
しずつ自分のペースで覚えていけばいいから。
I knew exactly how he felt. Seeing him work hard every day was more than enough to make me happy.
それにユウが知らないだけでしっかりと奥様の力になってくれてるよ。ユウは。
I smiled gently. Seeing that, he finally smiled back. I really am no match for you, huh? He relaxed his shoulders and leaned into me. It's relaxing when you hold me like this.
ユウは甘えん坊ね。
Hey, Chisa.
何？
Thank you for everything that you do.
どういたしまして。
A light fluffy feeling bloomed within me. I embraced him tightly once more. Warm sunlight streamed through the curtains. I opened my eyes. It seemed I'd woken up earlier than usual. I yawned and sluggishly got out of bed.
おはよう。
To 1940, to 1940. Honestly, God, I may just play Harmony in my own time because the entire yes skipping the sex scenes is gonna cause the video, like, the route length is got like the game length overall is gonna be like in the fucking like I don't know 10 hours or something like that.
That, of course, is an exaggeration.
But the video length is gonna be like half that because of all the sex scenes. But apparently Harmony is like in the same vein as Not Fiction there. So I may just play that in my own time, just like start with the next Saturday, Sunday project sooner. So yeah. Also I still need to update the page for that. The channel info. Yeah, current censored VN is still divided with no prelude to the fallen. By fucking God. It hasn't been prelude to the fallen for quite some time now. You know what? I'm just gonna switch it to Mask of Deception immediately because I'm gonna be done with Sugar Style Zone. So I feel it doesn't make sense to switch that. I'm gonna leave that though. There we go. Update that. Somebody commented already. 100% 9 as of the writing of this comment. Huh, neat. Oh, sorry, I mean amend, not comment. Yeah, 7 votes for 9. People really seem to want 9. 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9! There we go, we got the Hitler joke in. What the fuck? Anyways. Tisa greeted me with a smile in her as our eyes meet. Yeah, good morning. She was in the middle of changing and thus naked. But she didn't scream or act embarrassed at all, even though I was right here looking at her. Well, you're her husband? And you've had sex with her? She carried on as if nothing was wrong, scavenging through the drawers for clothes. Yeah, that happens every now and again, I guess. Yeah, I'm fine. Seeming to have realized what was wrong, she turned her entire body to face me. She had a massive smile on her face. She absolutely knew why I was embarrassed. Yes? She shook her hips dramatically as she approached me. I tried not to look, and really, I did. I tried not to look, really, I did. But with her boobs jiggling in front of me, my eyes were instinctively drawn to him. Jisa! Anyone would! Do you see what you're doing? Oh, let me just... It is not recognizable at all. Good. You said this with that mischievous smile of hers before pressing her chest even closer. Oh, that is a very nice outfit. She seemed to be in a good spirits as she was cheerfully humming during breakfast. Meanwhile, I was already exhausted, though I couldn't say I was that upset. You gotta stop doing that stuff, Chisa. Well, it's true, I guess. She could avoid, like, blatantly trying to, like, get him embarrassed by walking up to him. Wait, that's not true at all! Sure, at first she was just getting changed, but the rest was absolutely avoidable. She's right. I mean, we've definitely done a lot over the years. Something like that really shouldn't bother me now. But this isn't a matter that can be resolved with logic. say that. Say what you will, but the fact is that I wasn't mentally prepared this morning.
心の準備
How do I put this? When you do that sort of thing, I need time to get into the right state of mind. If you do it too suddenly, I won't be able to calm down. Jesus smiled at my words.
ピュアね。でも、そんなユウも可愛くて好きよ。
Thanks? Wait, why did I thank her? Why was I so embarrassed? I felt like part of it was because she always called me innocent at times like these. In an attempt to escape, I tried changing the subject. Anyway, I'm looking forward to our date today. We'd planned to go on one since I was on break. We were planning to have a picnic at the park while watching the cherry blossoms.
そうね。ちゃんと晴れてくれたし、いい花見ができそう。
I looked out the window, my body illuminated by the warm rays of the sun. The weather forecast said we shouldn't need to worry about rain. It's a perfect day for a picnic.
荷物は昨日のうちに準備したし、あとはお弁当を作ってお酒を買って。
You'll be drinking today? Chisa didn't drink all that often, though she would frequently grab a drink after deadlines and such.
花見なんだから当たり前でしょ
Though I recall her saying recently that alcohol was the greatest thing ever invented. A toast to that. Too bad it's empty already. I don't have a problem, you do. I hope she doesn't get sick.
今日はとことん楽しむんだから。
As long as we pace ourselves, okay? Just thinking about our upcoming date made me smile and made my heart leap in anticipation. This was going to be a great day. We set out immediately after taking no detours as we headed straight for the park. It was spring break, but it was the middle of the week. This park was usually pretty busy, but even with the great weather, it wasn't that packed today. Thinking to ourselves that we'd gotten pretty lucky, we found a suitable spot and laid everything out.
乾杯
Cheers. I raised my paper cup to meet her can. She was drinking a can of highball, but since I was still a student, I opted for tea. Finishing her first can in one go, she wore a satisfied smile.
昼間っからお酒はやっぱり最高ね
Like, damn right! So, suddenly they look to the side, just fucking, Haku just sits there with a fucking, like a bowl of sake. What? Listen, I'll take any excuse to not work and instead day drink. And suddenly just, the typical tail just wraps around his head. Oh no, and suddenly he's yanked away.
これこそフリーランスでしょ
Was that so? I tilted my head in mild confusion, still smiling at her. Well, it's supposed to be our much anticipated date together. Not wanting to put a damper on things, I left it at that.
This really is great stuff.
I picked up some food with my chopsticks. Even though it was cold, the seasoning was perfect. The taste was delicious. Such a good cook, Chisa.
そう私自身は普通かなって思ってるんだけど
You don't have to be so modest about it, you know. Look, this here tastes incredible. Pick up one of her side dishes to show her. The seasoning here is done to perfection and the texture is to die for. Honestly, your cooking is just way too good.
ありがとうユウにそう言ってもらいたいから上達したんだけどね
She seemed a little embarrassed as she said this. Found myself blushing slightly as well. But thanks for doing that for me.
こうして料理するようになったのもユウと結婚してからだしユウが美味しいって言ってくれたらそれだけで幸せなの
Is that so?
だからこれからもいつまでもユウのためにご飯を作らせてね
Hearing her say that made my heart skip a beat, and I found my cheeks heating up once more. Thanks, Chisa. I bowed my head, trying to express my gratitude. Honestly, in almost every sense, I really was no match for her.
それよりも、せっかくの花見なんだから、料理の話だけじゃなくて景色も楽しみましょう。
Ah, that's true.
このままじゃ、本当の意味で花より団子になるわよ。
She probably thought she sounded really clever just now, as she had a massive grin plastered on her face. I couldn't help but laugh a bit at her awful joke.
あ、こら、笑うなんてひどくない？
My bad, I just couldn't help it. And so we laughed together, letting the fun times pass idly by.
お酒が美味しい。
She picked up another can and cracked it open. How many was this now? Seems she was really in the mood to drink today. Are you sure it's okay to drink that much? Her cheeks were already quite flushed and her eyes glazed over.
平気平気。これくらいなんてことないから。
Yes. 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 Fuck it. One annoying thing is that apparently, like, doing the whole yes, take a screenshot of the window, just like kind of like leaves the fucking name up there, which is like question mark M, question mark B, question mark G, question mark T, question mark B, question mark N, question mark V, question mark version 1.0.0.0 data version 1.00. Which is fucking weird. I'm just gonna go do people some service now. I don't know about that. You look pretty drunk to me.
ユウも飲む？美味しいよ。
No, I'm good. Wait, I'm a minor, so absolutely not.
私の酒が飲めないっていうの？
No thanks.
ちぇ、釣れないのね。
She said with a sulking tone, but I knew her well enough to know she was acting. That said, she didn't normally show this side of herself, playful as she was. That's probably the alcohol working its magic.
ユウ。
Chisa? While I was absorbed in my own thoughts, she managed to crawl across the blanket. As a result, I found my arm coming into contact with something incredibly soft.
花見、楽しいね。
I accidentally clicked again. Yeah?
ずっとこうしていたいわね。
Yeah? I was far too preoccupied by the feeling of her chest, so I couldn't find the words to respond with.
ユウ、顔赤いわよ。
He was doing this on purpose after all. Chisa, we're in public, so could we maybe stop this?
大丈夫。他の人からしたら軽くイチャイチャしてるようにしか見えないから。
Looks like her reason was left at the bottom of one of those cans. But I've been around her enough to know where this was going.
ユウの体、あったかいね。
She sidled herself up closer. My entire consciousness was focused on the fact that her body was pressed up against me.
ユウのエッチ。
She had a smug look on her face as she gazed up at me. She completely seen through me. Why do you say that?
変なこと考えてない？
Bullseye.
でも私は、ユウが変なことを考えてる方が嬉しいかな。
Should you really be happy about that?
それだけユウが私に夢中っていうことになるじゃない？愛する旦那様が意識してくれてる。それって、すごく嬉しいことでしょ。
She said this with a dazzling smile. Her smile was so enchanting I found myself utterly spellbound. I felt the overwhelming urge to protect it.
嬉しすぎてドキドキしてきたかも。ねえ、ユウ、ここでエッチする？
Words were so absurd that I ended up nearly choking and had to spit out my tea.
冗談よ。
Now look here.
さすがにそんなことはね。でも、ユウとエッチしたいっていうのは本心だけどね。
Another day, another coughing fit. Meanwhile, she was all laughs. Is that a joke too?
どっちだと思う？
She had an impish expression on her face as she stared into my eyes. I could feel her warm breath on my face. I gulped down hard. Even if you ask me that, we can't do that sort of thing in public.
なら家ならいいの？
Well, would be better than doing it outside. Wait, isn't that a bit of a loaded question?
ちょっと意地悪だった。でも、ユウとしたいっていうのは本音だから。
She gazed at the swaying trees with a gentle
ユ
smile.
ウとこうしてのんびり過ごす時間は好きだけど、それと同じくらい、ユウとエッチするのも好きだから。好きな人のぬくもりを感じたいって思うのはダメかしら。
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I feel the same way. But even if you say that with a serious face, I won't fall for your tricks. I'm not sure if she forgot, but we're still outside here. She ignored me, humming all the while.
まあまあ、今は桜を楽しむことにしましょう。
You're the one who was trying to derail us, though. As that thought crossed my mind, her face drew close. With a naughty look in her eyes, she said,
エッチは後で。ね。
Yes! She whispered seductively. I'm not gonna touch that one. She's pretty difficult to handle when she's drunk. It's like her propensity for teasing was magnified, but specifically in the sexual department. Well, it's her we're talking about, so I wasn't that upset. Oh, it's already this late. Checking my phone, it was already past dinner time. Best get going.
もう帰るの？
Well, once you factor in the time it'll take to clean up, I think it's about time. It'll be pretty hard to do that if it gets dark after all.
残念。でも仕方ない。
Jeez, are you able to stab properly?
大丈夫よ。そこまでハメは外してん。
I thought it would be the end of it, but her expression shifted into one of her usual mischievous smiles. What's it gonna be this time?
やっぱりダメかも。ユウ、支えてくれる？
Saying that in an overly emphasized shaky tone, she leaned her weight onto me. Wait, Chisa, you're too close!
ユウの匂いがする。いい匂い。
You, Chisa, smell like booze. With her essentially being a liability the entire time, I somehow managed to gather everything up and get us both home. Chisa, we're here. Still supporting the very drunk Chisa, I opened the front door and started to walk inside when...
ユウ。
Ah! I felt myself being pulled down all of a sudden. Caught off guard, I couldn't stop the momentum. Before I knew it, she was pinning me down.
ユウのおちんちん。
See you after the sex scene. I actively had to wait before continuing the recording because she was still moaning from the last fucking line. We went at it for hours and hours. By the time we were finally satisfied, the sun had long since set. She was now staring at me with an utterly satisfied smile on her face. Something wrong?
特に何も。ただユウのことを見てただけ。
Is there something on my face?
何も。ただ、私の夫は可愛いのって
was doing this on purpose. In that case, yeah, I think so too. Your face is so cute, Chisa. I tried to deliver that with a straight face and ended up stumbling over my words.
見え張ろうとして失敗してる。でもありがとう。大好きなユウにそう言ってもらえると嬉しい。
Her gaze was rather overwhelming, causing me to blush. Honestly, I'll just never get used to the sight of her. I love you too, Chisa.
ねえ、ユウは私のどこが好きなのか、具体的に聞いてもいい？
Well, there's a lot to choose from, really. I can't summarize it that easily.
そんなに私のことが好きなんだ。
Of course I do.
嬉しい。私もユウの全部が大好きよ。私のために頑張ってくれてるところとか、コーヒーを作ってるところとか。確かにいろいろありすぎて並べられないわね。
She wore a teasing smile on her face. Now to think about it. How long have you been sober for? I've been distracted while we were doing it, but she must have been sobered up a while ago, as she seemed totally lucid by now.
まあ、頭はすっきりしてるかな。
By the way, weren't you a little too aggressive while you were drunk? I feel like she was even more into it today than usual. Rachel speaking, for example.
お酒で火がついたことは間違いないけどね。でも、せっかくのエッチだもの。酔っていろいろとわからない状態じゃなくて、しっかりと優を感じたいじゃない？酔ったまま、なんてもったいないことできないわよ。
Waste time. I was so like her. Couldn't help but smile wryly in response.
それに優が女の子みたいにおっぱいで感じちゃう可愛い一面も見れたしね。
Couldn't help it, okay? I was hoping you could forget that part. Wait, something else was off here. I thought back to when we were going at it. There was one part that stuck out to me. I'm a bit curious about something, though.
何？
I've been meaning to ask this for a while now, but, isn't your sex drive a little too high? I've wondered that ever since the first time we had sex, to be honest. I've only ever done it with her, so I can't be too sure, but I'm pretty sure her libido is above average. I mean, I'm free whenever you want right now, but I wonder if you'll be okay once I get a job. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love sex too. I want to do it as much as possible, but I'm quite confident that I'd be able to keep up no matter how much she wanted to. That said, I'm still young, so my stamina is at its peak right now. As I get older, I wonder if that will stay the same. Hence the root of my doubt. Seems she didn't like hearing that.
徐々に収まるように善処します。
She said this with a slightly worried expression. Well, I'm sure we'd figure it out as we went along, so I decided to cut the conversation short. Was it any day like...
どうだするの？
Was it a day like any other, though?
セーブするの？セーブしたわよ。
Yeah. I'm not gonna finish this one day. I'm feeling too tired. Hope you guys enjoyed this one and see you next time. Bye-bye.